everybody, so today is going to be a major book review on a really long list of books. We're going to start off with Spells, which is the sequel to Wings, which I did in another video before. So let's get started. The thing about Wings is I thought it was a pretty good sequel to... The thing about Spells, I thought it was a good sequel to Wings, which is the first book. What I liked about it was we got to learn more about how the fairies function, like the society, what they do in there, a little bit more than we did in the last book. We also see a little bit more about with Tayami, who was one of the characters that was in the first book that was just like in there for a little bit, but you knew he was going to be a love interest kind of character. So we see him a little more, we learn a little bit more about him and his family, and I did like that. I like learning a little bit more about the characters as we go on throughout the series. Another thing I liked is that towards the end, Laurel decides to stop seeing Tayami. She says, "I'm sorry, I choose David, I choose my human family as well, and my human friends over you and the fairies. She says she'll still learn how to make potions and things like that, so she can protect her family from the villains, which are the trolls." The one thing I didn't like was the random character that we had, that I guess she worked for the government or something, I don't know. She is trying to kill the trolls off and things like that. Random character came out of nowhere, and I didn't like that. I thought they shouldn't have had her at all. So that's my opinion right there. Another thing that I didn't like was the trolls weren't in there a lot. They're like, bam, right there at the end, kind of thing. And I didn't really like that. I thought maybe they should have been in the book more. You had the fear there with Laurel. She was kind of afraid. Why aren't they doing anything? Where are they? Kind of, always worrying about her mom and stuff, and her dad too, and everybody else. So, but I thought they should have been in there more. I gave this book a B because I did enjoy it a lot more than I did Wings, but it wasn't what I would call A material. So there's that. I do recommend it to people, but if you like your fairies to be, well, darker, more evil in a sense, then this isn't the book for you. Or this isn't the series for you, actually. If you want something like that, you can go with Holly Black's. Okay, so the thing I liked about Holly Black's fairy books was that her characters were really good. I thought they were very enjoyable. I thought they showed a different side to teens that other books in the YA genre, at least in the paranormal part, didn't show, because in most of those books they're pretty good students. They go to school all the time, they get good grades, they don't smoke, they don't drink, and this was something that was different, and I really enjoyed that. The one thing I didn't like was, even though they did smoke, they smoked way, it was just described way too much, is what I mean. I thought maybe she should have cut back on that a little bit. It was getting to a point where I was like, oh god, this is disgusting. I'm okay with the character that smokes, I'm okay with the movies, TV, everything. But if it gets to a point where it's just way too much, then I'm like, maybe they should cut back on the scenes. I did really like her fairy lore in the books. They weren't the, happy fairies that you see in like Tinkerbell. They're not small or anything. They're pretty gruesome. Someone wanted to buy the main character's hair, I think, at one point. I was like, or they had you have the queens in different courts. One that makes her knight do whatever she wants and kill people, kill anyone really. Like, he had to kill one of the fairies that, there was a group of fairies that weren't part of any court. They're kind of just out there, and he had to kill one of them. I don't remember why. Just because the queen didn't like him or something. But another thing I liked is the idea that there's these two courts. One that's pretty good, you know, what we kind of think of fairies in a sense in that court, and the other one that's the complete opposite. And I really enjoyed this book. I do apologize if each review isn't as long as some of the other ones were. I want them to be short. I'm going to do a written review that's a lot longer in the summer. So, sorry. My final grade for this book is A-. I really enjoyed it very much, and I do recommend it to all people that like fairy books, whether they like the Tinkerbell kind of fairies or a more darker fairy that goes around killing people kind of thing. Moving on to another fairy book, which, I don't know, I read a lot of fairy books, is Lament by Maggie Stiefvater. And why don't I start with the fairies in this one? It's kind of a cross between, yeah, the good-looking fairies, but you also have a little darker fairies going on here. You know, these fairies, like, towards the end you see more of them. They like to play pranks on people. They'll kill. They actually attacked the main character at one point. They went and killed their own queen, like, ripping her body apart. I hope I'm not revealing too much. I won't tell you where that happens. I do think that the author was trying to base this mythology more in, you know, the Celtic fairies kind of thing, as opposed to just general Western mythology. She's focusing more on that part of the European world, which is cool. I really enjoyed that. The characters, I like the main character, Deirdre. She is a very shy kind of girl. She doesn't really like performing. She's a musician who plays the harp. Not a very popular instrument to play. She plays the harp and sings. She's pretty good at it. She practices a lot. And she goes and performs at competitions and gigs, but her mother makes her, so. But she is really nervous, and I can relate to that a little bit more. I do get nervous when I get up for concerts, or when I have to do a solo during a song. I start getting nervous and shaking. I can't even perform in, like, class when it comes to my violin in front of the teacher. I get so nervous. It's like, I'm gonna mess up. I'm gonna be really bad. It's gonna suck. That's kind of me. But I can relate to that. So I really enjoyed her as a character. There is a little triangle going on. The best friend is in love with her, who's a guy. His name is James, and he plays the bagpipes, another strange instrument, and she falls in love with Luke, who is, he's not a fairy. He's a human who's under control by the fairies, or the fairy queen, sorry. And so she falls in love with him, he falls in love with her, but the best friend's in love with her, but she doesn't love him. She just wants to keep their best friend, you know, relation, their friendship, and that's it. Overall, I did enjoy this book a lot. You know, the characters are really good. I actually found one thing really fascinating. I was like, Deirdre's aunt made a deal with the fairies that when she was born, she would give them to her, to the fairy, give Deirdre to the fairies in exchange for her mother's voice, because she wanted to be the best singer in the family, and it was originally the mother, and so now we know why the mother can't sing.